think statistical is based about rules and patterns that you can see and you can define. Whereas neural engines use AI, and they create a neural network that kind of map data relationships. So they're very, very different. One is very predictable, and the other one is very fluid. So that's a big, big difference. I suppose you might say neural kind of works a lot more like a human mind. So as we map things in our mind and as we map associations with content, that's also how kind of neural network works. Which means you can add emphasis and kind of things like that too to it, which is quite interesting. So that's the core differences. One is rules and one is based on AI neural network. Um, Second question, where are we as an industry in terms of NMT today? Oh, okay. Um, in terms of the NMT sector, I would say it's about size-wise, it's about 48 million plus. Sorry, 48 billion, I should say. Oh, a few extra zeros there, but 48 billion US dollars. And a lot of the kind of reports have said, like you know, most MT now, sorry, most organisations are currently using MT, in the sector. When you have, kind of big brands like, I don't know, Microsoft, Google, Amazon are some of the biggest ones, and then you have lots of other companies like Kantan AI as well, working on the more customized and more defined MT engines, and the sector's expanding. So like now we have thousands, of companies working in it. I think in terms of like adoption, I would say we're probably becoming a little bit more mature. And I would probably say that if you look at some of the CSA reports or the TTI reports, all the reports that you see, generally coming out, 50% I think of LSPs and translation agencies are actually using MT in some way, and the other 50% say it's on the roadmap they're going to be doing it. So I think it's as an industry, I say we're starting to become mature. Also, when I say mature. For example, if you were to go back 10 years from today and say that there would be a specific role in an organization, translation agency, whatever, that focused just on machine translation, you would probably be laughed at. But today there are lots of machine translation experts and data science experts and neural NLP, natural language processing experts. So that's a big shift. So I think in industry we're starting to become more mature now. And I think adoption is a lot more. Where will we be in 10 years, in my opinion? Well, I suppose where will I be in 10 years? Hopefully on a beach with a pina colada. I don't know. But what I would say is that the world will definitely be translating more because of MT. That would be 100% sure. Because the ability to machine translate something really, really fast allows you to translate more. Whether the quality, is going to be there for them, that's obviously going to change over the time. So the more you use a particular technology or solution, the better it should become. So I expect, as adoption is even more, that the quality will increase. And I think one of the keys to that will be kind of solving the 80-20 rule, where you're able to solve 80% of the problems you have with data as you're building machine translation engines, and that 20% is harder to refine or define. So I think finding a key to breaking that paradigm is going to be key. I also think that there's going to be a convergence, shall we say, where, for example, speech technology, machine translation technology, AI, a lot of that kind of stuff will kind of like be melded together a little bit, I think, in the future, in 10 years. Just like some smart fellow added a camera to a phone and then connected to the internet, it changed a lot of people's world now. So mobile computing, for example. So I think there will be some kind of shift for that at some point. So I think this will mean that with quality improving and also the convergence of technologies, I think the power of the expert or the power of expert knowledge or product knowledge is going to be even more important for linguists. So not just being a translator, but being an editor or a linguist that's an expert in your field, I think is really, really key. So I think that's where we're going. The power of knowledge and the power of expertise, I think, is going to be key. Who are the MT innovators? Well, I have to say my CTO, Tony O'Dowd, simply because if he watches this, he has to see me say it. No, I'm only joking. No, Tony's a great guy who founded the company, and a lot of the kind of the data analysis and analytics in terms of building engines, he's been very key on. And I think in terms of other kind of places where we would see NMT experts or innovators, I would tend to look at AMTA and all the associations, be listening to everyone because there's some really great young minds out there. So these are researchers that are, coming out of university with these great ideas about how that you can use neural networks or new innovations or new processes or new AI models to basically do more things. And then of course, there's people like myself and other people that are innovating in terms of how MT is being deployed as well. So that's it's good to listen to other colleagues as well who are doing the same kind of thing as myself. What's the next one? Is the war in Ukraine impacting machine translation industry? First of all, I'd like to say, my heart goes out to all of those, people who've, been affected or touched by the war, and I hope that people can start communicating effectively and somehow come to some kind of peace, where possible. But after saying that, I suppose in some cases yes, and in some cases no. In terms of has the war affected us? I would probably say that for MT buyers, they're probably asking questions like where are you based, looking at your ethics, looking at how you're resourcing, resources from Ukraine. Also, where your ethics are in terms of like your standing and making sure they're aligned with theirs. Also, then that helps them look at risk as well because they're looking at what potential risks are there for working with you if you're a machine translation provider or if you're a translating agency. I think it's affected us the same way that way. I think finding machine translation post editors and data science kind of people that from Ukraine is a bit harder. But I think as we've adapted to COVID, the world has become much more digital and mobile. Therefore, people now are working with laptops remotely from home from every location they can. If they have an internet connection, then it's possible. So I think the impact has been less because of that, because of COVID actually, where people have had to work from home a lot more. So it's meant that kind of stuff is come out as a plus. It's a strange thing to say, but I think it's true. Um, but I think they're really the main things I would say that impacted the industry. I can't think of anything else that jumps into my mind. Okay, so how is MT changing the world today? Well, I think I think what machine translation or NMT is doing, it's it's the users are expecting to have everything translated. So, that means in any language. They're saying, well, if Google can do it, then why isn't it translated? And this is putting pressure on organizations to provide more content that's translated, and also it's putting greater expectations, on people who are creating content that it can be translated and it is translated and localized, which is I think is a great thing because people are talking about it and people are understanding that things have to be translated now. So it's not really becoming a question anymore about should you translate or not. It's becoming about how many language are you translating into and what's possible. So I think that's a good thing, which means more translation for everything. I also think that we're seeing quality expectations that rise, as I mentioned. So people are expecting better things, and that does mean I think I mentioned as well. That people are looking at experts now because machine translation, particularly neural, is a little harder to define. What is actually a problem. Statistical is quite easy because you have the rules, right? So you kind of have these expected things that it's going to do based on the content you fed it for translation. Where neural sometimes doesn't act the same way all the time, and therefore this is just a challenge for it. So sometimes it can be more fluid and more readable, but harder to edit. So there are these kind of things too. I think also the expanding use of NMT in different places, like it's no longer just used for technical publications. That would have been the biggest use case I think in the past for it. Whereas today now it's used in places, for example, where real-time communication is needed and there is no traditional approach to be able to do it. As there is sometimes what we call like a language crisis in some regions where we're unable to find people who can speak certain languages to do certain jobs like customer support, for example, where an agent needs to speak French and Romanian and various other languages. Simply you can't find those skills there. So this is where NMT steps in and can provide a really great way of providing customer support in a language that otherwise wouldn't be supported. So that's changing expectations again. Like I said, people are expecting things to be translated now. I think that's a big thing. Um, and I also think that the world is undergoing a digital transformation, and businesses are looking at digital transformation. I think machine translation is going to be a big part of that. So there are going to be lots of different areas where it is. Also, you might find in things like Teams and other applications now, there are Microsoft Translator technology embedded into them, which of course probably isn't GDPR compliant, but I'm not too sure about that. But it would be interesting to see the fact that this is becoming every day for everyone is changing the world completely. Um, oh, okay, that's the only question. So, thanks very much for Leo for sending me over the questions, and look forward to seeing you in June 23rd, 24th, and hopefully we can talk more about baselines versus building, which will be an interesting topic. Thanks very much, everyone. See you then. Bye bye.